Hello friends, this is Cara-Renee with B.Reborn Art and Healing, coming to you with an ephemera video for the the Daisy Dreams journal that I'm making for the friend of my best friend, as I mentioned in an earlier video. So we're going to be creating this kind of triple layered tag with a pocket. So it has the tag base, the large tag, it has a smaller tag, and then a journal card, and it's all going to be stuck inside of that pocket that's got that shabby green paper there. And it's also going to potentially be attached or in a belly band on a page. I haven't quite decided. And I am bringing in that paper because the person I'm creating it for also loves quilts. So I thought it was a great way to bring in that kind of art form into this journal so that it would bring her joy. And then we're going to be making this corner hugger, and we're going to be making a hidden paper clip. The hidden paper clip is made out of the Lazy Daisy paper, so that's also from my porch prints. But all the supplies will be linked in the supply list over on the blog, and the link to the blog will be in the description box. So we're going to start with the hidden paper clip, and what you want to do is pick paper that, I was talking here about that square that I cut out. I was losing my pins like crazy, so I cut a little corner of it and I velcroed it to a box that's right in front of me so that I don't lose my needles anymore. But anyway, back to the task at hand here. So you want to have your base piece be bigger than your top piece. And these can be any size that you want. They could be super long or they could be very short and tiny. It's totally up to you. I've done both. I've done them very small and I've done them larger. So I do actually want to do one that's a side, like on the side of a page. I haven't quite figured that out yet, but that's on my list of to-dos. So I'm taking that larger base piece and I'm going to cut it down to, I believe this was 3.5 inches. Again, you can just determine the size based on your journal and based on where you're going to put it in your journal. And so I folded it in half, as you saw there, and I was talking there about my, I have my ring light on my webcam because I had a comment from one of my very treasured and faithful followers that my lighting is different since I got my new setup, at least when she's watching on her phone. So I was going to try the ring light and see if that makes a difference. I did move my computer monitor to a different part of the room or different part of the desk, so it's not as close to the light. So we're just going to play around with it and see what happens. So what we're going to do here is we're going to take a small paper clip and attach it with the long side to the back on the base piece after it's been folded there. And then we're going to cut a small slit in the top piece right there on that crease. And I am going to ink that crease just so that it's a little bit easier to see. And it looks like I had cut out, this was originally a live video, it looks like I cut out the inking there, forgot that I had done that. But we're just going to move on. I don't have the energy to do it again, so we're just going to go with it. You know, here on my channel, it's not about perfection, it's not about performance, it's about creativity and inspiration. So I think that our imperfections can be just as inspiring as the beautiful creations. So I just say my new motto is just go with it. Just go with it. So we're going to go ahead and just slide that paper clip. I was making sure that the hole was big enough there. Sorry, get yakety yakking and I lose track of what I'm talking about here. So what is on the entire base of that is not going to show because the top piece is going to go over it and is actually going to be glued down. I chose this one just because it's part of the kit and it has the daisies on it, and so I knew that, and it has that script, that text is what I really liked, so that's why I chose that one. So there we go. So we're going to go ahead and slide that paper clip back on again the long side to the back. I like to leave it hanging out a little bit off the top so that you can string some ribbon or some sari silk or something in there. So I'm reaching there to grab a piece of green, kind of an olivey green sari silk there. And then you just, and I do slit that hole just a little bit wider than the paper clip just in case it's not even, and then I have wiggle room to be able to adjust that like you see me doing there. I'm pulling that over because it wasn't quite straight. And then we can put sari silk through there whenever. I am taking that off, and I'm going to go ahead and trim those little frayed pieces of paper that are created from cutting that paper on that slit, and then just inking it again. And we're going to glue, what's going to happen is we're going to glue each of those flaps down to the base. And I'm going to use my art glitter glue. I do use a lot of glue around the paper clip. And then I put the rest of the glue on the that piece that's flipped up. And again, you can make these whatever size you want. I just chose this just because this is a standard size journal. It is going to only be a 2 signature journal, not a 3 signature, which is my normal size. But the pages are going to be full size, so I wanted a decent hidden paper clip, and I will probably make some more off camera. And of course, you'll be able to see all of those bits when we do the flip through when we get to that point. So I'm going to go ahead and glue the other side as well. And here I was just noticing that the script is upside down. The design is upside down on the back side of that paper on the back. This is the part that's going to be on the back of the paper clip, or on the opposite page, which will make sense here in a moment. But I don't worry too much about that. I maybe could have thought about that a little differently and picked a different paper that was not directional, but it's not a big deal to me. I just kind of go with it and I don't worry about it. So this is how it's going to go on the page. That paper is just going to slide in between the 2 parts of the base piece. There you go. You guys have probably seen this if you've been hopping around YouTube and the Facebook groups. You've probably already seen this style of creating a paper clip. And I'm just going to go ahead and string that sari silk in through that paper clip. I was just cutting off where the sari silk was sewn together with another piece. I didn't want that as a part of this, and it was long enough. I'm just feeding that through, and then going to stick the ends through the hole there. Again, you guys have probably seen that. If you're a beginner, you can just watch and learn. Hopefully you learn something. Just adjusting my camera there a little bit. I was was feeling like it was crooked. So yeah. So I am creating this on a work night, which, as I mentioned before, is always risky because I'm tired, and but we have a lot of things going on this weekend, so I wanted to be sure to be able to get another video created so that I can just enjoy the events that are coming up. So I'm going to go ahead and do some really basic decorating on this paper clip. I didn't want to go too overboard. I'm trying to keep this journal pretty simple and really soft for the most part, other than the folio that you guys have seen probably already, part 1 and part 2 of the Grungy Daisy folio that I made out of a file folder. I followed Tatty Treasures, Tanya over at Tatty Treasures. So aside from that, everything in the journal is going to be pretty soft and mellow. So that was again at the request of my friends. So I just landed on this sentiment that says, sorry, it's not in front of me, faith, hope, and love. And we're just going to go ahead and glue that on, just keeping it again very basic. I do grab a piece of a really wide weave lace and put a piece of lace under that because I really love that look. I like the layers, I like the texture, and this is one of my favorite laces that they only carry at Joann Fabrics, and so I always have to wait for when they run a sale because it's expensive and they don't run sales very often. So I'm pretty sure that's where I got it. I get this in this cream color as well as pink, a really pale pink. So just going to go ahead and adhere, if I could talk, adhere that lace to the base there. And this is the front part of the paper clip. And then I'm going to go ahead and put the sentiment right on top of that. I don't know if I was still thinking about it there or not. I have a terrible memory. I just created this video and I already don't remember what I was doing. But you know, that's me. Just me being me. So there, we're done with that. I did come back off camera and put a sentiment on the back as well. I had forgotten that, just inking up the pieces for the corner hugger is what they're called. I did not think up this idea either. I will try to look it up on my channel and see where I got the inspiration. I do like to make sure that I give credit to the creator that I watched it on. So knowing that it may not have been that creator's original idea either, but I like to make sure that I'm not taking credit for that. So you want to cut your top piece, the front of your corner hugger, bigger than the back. And depending on what side of the page you're going to glue it on will determine what side you butt that little other square piece onto the back. So if you want it on a left side page, you would want to make sure that you glue that extra piece of paper, I'm so sorry guys, to the side that you want. So you can probably see just intellectually what that looks like. If you wanted it to go on the right side of the page, you would move it like I'm doing there with my fingers. And so you're all, again, like a tuck, you're only going to glue it on the two sides because we do want to make sure that we can get something to slide in under that. And I think I opted to stay to the right here. And so I'm going to go ahead and glue on the two sides. And I kind of lost track of what I was doing here and thought I had glued the three sides. And so I wipe it up with a paper towel and do it again. But, you know, that's me. I'm in a little bit of a fussy spot, I guess you could call it, just not feeling very, I don't know, just feeling off and feeling emotional and processing some hard things, and just seems to be the story of my life. But it is part of the journey. It's just this ongoing growth and, you know, working through triggers, working through, you know, things that don't go right, things that, you know, that hurt us or we don't understand, or any number of things. So, and I was mentioning when I was doing this live that I am also delaying my Sunday's Art of Truth for March the 13th. I usually do a Sunday's Art of Truth every Sunday, but I just can't do it right now. It takes a lot more out of me to create in that way, because it's a way more vulnerable kind of processing and creating. So here, I apologize for chatting away, really not really, and so that's just showing you how that corner hugger works. It's going to hug the corner of the page just like it sounds like. So you do want to make sure that you're really minimizing how much space that glue is taking up when you glue that piece on the back. So I do kind of stick my ruler in there and kind of loosen up the edges to ensure that I've got the full use of that space, and it's not, the glue isn't taking over, is what I was doing there. So just working on a sentiment here for the little corner hugger, and I just chose, I'm using the pink lace. This is the same as the cream one I was using here a bit ago. And it's that really wide weave lace, same product, and I'm just kind of tattering it a little bit there, and I'm going to put on the sentiment that says "Have faith," and that will be it for our corner hugger. Again, trying to keep this really simple and not too. I don't want it to be overwhelming for her. I want her to, when she opens the journal, I want it to immediately give her joy and peace. And so that's kind of where my heart is. I don't know her. I've never met her, but I know my friend has shared a little bit about her with me, and so I'm just prayerfully considering everything that I'm creating for this journal with her in mind, and the chapter of her life that she's in right now. So there we go. That is done. Just wiping off the excess glue there. Got a little bit went a little bit overboard. Oh, there we go. Decided to go ahead and use the other edge of that pink lace that I had cut off, and just going to put that on the bottom of the corner hugger. Just like so. I'm going to go ahead and trim that off. I think I glue it on first and then trim it next. I can't quite remember. There we go. Apologize if you can hear the TV. It is the evening, so that's my husband's way that he distresses, is to watch his programs. So Our house is really small, so the TV is on the other side of the studio wall, so, or very close by anyway, so it can be a little bit loud. So I hope that's not disturbing to anybody. So there we go. There's our corner hugger. So we're going to move on to our last project, which is the one that's a little bit more time, not time, oh goodness gracious, I can't talk. It takes more time. So it's going to be, the base is a tag with a pocket, and then it has a smaller tag and a journaling card. And I apologize here, guys. I was apparently measuring, I think this was 8.5 inches tall. It was almost as tall as the journal, if I recall. Let me just look at that right now while I'm just doing the voiceover, right? No big deal. So the biggest tag here is, yeah, about 8.25 inches tall. And then I did take that piece of paper for the pocket, and I folded it in so that we could create a little bit of room in the pocket, because I knew I was going to be putting more than just one other thing in there. So that's why I did that. And I just kind of, a lot of pockets and kits come that way, but I was just using a piece of one of the shabby stitched papers. So I just created my own, just inking around the edges of all these pieces, and I'm just going to let you go ahead and watch that. It's going to take a minute or two. I'm just finishing inking this up here really quick. Just going to do the back also. All of these digitals do have a coffee or tea dyed paper printed on the back. I don't generally like the really stark white paper showing. I don't like that for writing on in a journal, in this kind of a journal rather. So just going to put my ink away there, and we're going to start decorating these, the two tags and the journal card. And I did purchased a new set of sentiments that they come in various colors. I think two of the colors that I can think of off the top of my head are pink and green. And let me look and see if they're right here, and I can tell you what the other color. Oh, and then a natural, like a tan. So really, really great sentiments. They say things like, everything that you are is enough. Life is tough, but so are you. The inside story, pretty things. She created the life she loved. Do more of what you love. Explore, share, create, bloom, inspire, all of those things. Great, great sentiment kit. So I will try to remember to link that as well. I have a hard time sometimes finding sentiments that suit what I'm trying to create, because of the level of inspiration that goes into what I create. So, and this one is very themed around this gal who has experienced a lot of loss in her life, and most recently, and is feeling that, and feeling life changing in ways that she doesn't really want. And so I want things in the journal that are going to be encouraging to her, but not overly spiritual either. I want it to feel safe and peaceful, and like somebody is just kind of wrapping her up in a hug. And she doesn't know me, but hopefully it will produce that effect for her, and then I will be deeply honored to know that. So just using a piece of that lace again to create a topper. I prefer creating a fabric or lace topper on my tags. I do eyelets and sari silk and all of that, but of late I've been leaning towards just doing a paper topper or lace topper or something of that nature. And then I found this button that I thought I would go ahead. It's the perfect color. It matches the darker tones of that rose that's on the on that paper. And originally I would have cut this out of the video, but I am going to go ahead and stitch. I'm going to put some dark brown thread through that, and this process is probably going to look a little bit messy. I'm not going to cut it out because I'm speeding the video up, so I apologize for the dead time there. So I'm just going to do that really quick here on camera, and then what I end up with is a lot of kind of messy knots and stuff in the back, which is fine. And so I do kind of use that to my advantage and kind of do some bunching up of that thread that's coming from the back, and before I glue it onto that lace. And so it actually had a really good effect. You'll be able to see that in the final pictures. Again, just a little bit of variation without it being kind of overkill. So I'm not really good with a needle and thread, so yeah, it was a little bit of a struggle at points. I'll let you just watch this for a moment. And that's the messy thread that I was talking about. And originally I was going to kind of just try to trim it all off, but I decided that I would go ahead and just again just use it and add to the vintage look of this project. Everything's vintage in my world. At least in my art it feels like. And it worked perfectly. Again, you'll be able to see that in the close-up photos at the end of the video. I'm going to go ahead and work on the journaling card as well. So I'm coming in with this sentiment that says, "Life is tough, but so are you." And it's from that kit that I mentioned, and it is in pink. And I did decide to go ahead and put a piece of, I went into town. We have a little antique shop slash fabric shop slash craft shop in our little town here, and they sell their lace at cost. So I get a lot of my lace there, and they tend to carry lace that other people don't carry. So I picked up this really faint yellow lace. It's really, really pale. I don't even know if it's picking up on the camera, but I decided to go ahead and bring in that yellow tone because it's going to match the journal really well. And it also is bringing out some of those cream tones in the base there as part of the paper. And then I'm coming in again with a little piece of that pink lace, just another piece of the cutoff of that original piece that I used. I'm just going to adhere both of those with my Fabri-Tac, and then I'll put the sentiment on top of it. I don't know what that was. Something in my glue bottle, I think, but I love how this turned out. It's got this really just a really feminine look, really soft, and again really inviting. Nothing really bold or dark or anything like that. And that was requested by my friend, and I'm so glad that she gave me some information. It really helps me in the creating of the journal. I do have all the signatures already, all the papers chosen and all folded and all of that stuff. I'm just gonna do some stitching around the pages off camera and do some other stuff, and then I'll be starting to put the actual journal together. So there we go. Isn't that so sweet? Wish that was a little bit slower, guys, but again, you'll be able to see that in the close-up photos at the end of the video. I'm going to go ahead and work on the base there, and I was wanting to not cover up that little, it's just a tiny little cluster of pink roses and some greenery, but I did decide to go ahead and cover it. So I'm coming in with a piece of lace that I also purchased at the little antique shop, and for this journal particularly, because it's very dainty. And so I'm going to put that down along the bottom edge there, just leaving a little bit of it hanging over, just for a little bit of interest. And then I'll go ahead and trim off those edges too. Sometimes it's easier to just get it glued in place and then just cut them off. And none of those scraps go to waste, so don't you worry. I use them all. They go in a little tiny little basket in my little drawer to my right, and it is my go-to textile basket. So, and just cutting a little bit more of that pink, really wide weave lace there. And we're going to go ahead and glue that down and put the sentiment on top of it. And that sentiment says, "Be still and know." So I know that she is a person of faith, and so I'm hoping that some of these little additions will be a mellow way to remind her of how loved she is and how watched over she is and cared for she is, even though life can sometimes give us a completely different message. But I'm hoping that as she looks at these things and as she uses the journal, that it'll take her to those places that will bring her peace. So that's my goal. That's my heart. And I'm so honored to be able to do it. I just don't even have words for it. So we're going to go ahead and glue that down. I mean, clearly I have words for it because I'm just yakking and yakking, but I mean, when I think about it, it kind of makes me speechless because it's a huge honor. I think anytime we get to tap into somebody's life and their story and meet them with kindness and love and support, and even from a distance, she's never going to meet me. She's never going to know me, and that's okay. And I just love that idea, and I just really feel like it's sacred ground that I'm walking on here. So this sentiment says hope, because again, I want her to be able to look in this book and be able to find hope, be able to be reminded of those things that hold true. So I'm going to go ahead and put a topper on the small tag as well, using that same wide weave pink lace. It's really, really pale pink, just lovely, kind of a blush pink color. It is going to cover up that text bit at the top of that collaged stitched paper, but that's okay. And again, that's the paper. I didn't stitch that. It's the way the paper came. But again, I will link all those supplies in the supply list over on my blog, and you can go check it out. It's from My Porch Prints. It's just beautiful. Lots of beautiful papers in that set too. I was really, really impressed. I was on the hunt for quilted looking things on Etsy as far as digital, so I definitely found what I was looking for. So I'm going to go ahead and just glue that on, gluing on the back as well. I do kind of fuss with this a little bit because my lace was uneven. It was, it was farther down on the tag on the front, so I did kind of move it around a little bit. And then I'm going to reach into my button bucket again and find a button that felt like it was going to work here. So the buttons do add bulk to a journal, but this is not going to be a super bulky journal like some of my others. It's going to be very simple. Part of the request was to not have a lot of hidden journaling places, to keep it really kind of open, and it is what it is, and pages to journal on and things like that. So I am adding tags and pockets and things, but they're going to be easy to identify. They're not going to be overwhelming, and the journal is not going to be super bulky so that it can't be used. That would be very frustrating, I'm sure. So I'm just cutting off the back of that button. It's kind of a pearl button. I think it is an older button because it had some old thread on the back of it. So originally when I found it, so I'm going to adhere that with my Fabri-Tac there. And I think this is the point where I kind of move up everything and move it around and adjust it, because it felt like it was a little bit off, but that's the beauty of Fabri-Tac, is you do have some wiggle room to do that. And then I didn't want to do a whole lot else with this. I wanted, again, to keep it simple. So the only other thing I'm going to add to this is that little word bloom. And again, that's from that sentiment kit I was talking about. And this sentiment is in pink, which matches perfectly with this beautiful design. So I thank you guys so much for watching, for coming by. I know that this was a little bit different. Usually my shorter videos, my ephemera videos, I just do real-time talking, but it just got to be a little bit too long and too rambly. When I do a voiceover, I can control it a little bit better. So again, thank you guys so much for coming by. And oh, I forgot, I was going to show you my next project. So I had mentioned in another video, I'm going to do a Crash Your Trash using some old book pages and music pages, the small ones, the ones that are really too little to use in a journal, but I want to be able to stamp on them with a rubber stamp and then use some watercolor on them to create kind of a really fun wash. So I was doing an experiment here where I was taking the watercolor ground and clear gesso, and I'm doing an experiment, so you guys will get to see the results of that very, very soon. Now I will say goodbye. I will say blessings to you all. Thanks for being here. Thanks for supporting my channel. Take care. Bye-bye.